The human nervous system operates like a finely tuned instrument, constantly seeking equilibrium between chaos and order. Yet most of us move through our days completely unaware of the mechanisms that govern our mental clarity, our focus, and our ability to process information at peak efficiency. We blame stress, we blame lack of sleep, we blame our circumstances, but we rarely consider that the problem might be something far more fundamental, a synchronization failure between the electrical rhythms of our brain and the physical vibrations that move through our body. This is where Alan Turing's lesser-known research intersects with modern neuroscience in ways that feel almost prophetic. Turing, the man who broke the Enigma code and laid the theoretical foundations for all modern computing, spent considerable time in his later years investigating something that seemed almost whimsical to his contemporaries: the relationship between rhythmic vibration and neural processing. He wasn't interested in vibration for its own sake. He was interested in what happens when the body's natural oscillatory patterns fall out of alignment with the brain's processing speed. When you're out of sync, as we colloquially say, you're experiencing a genuine neurological phenomenon. Your nervous system is attempting to process information at a frequency that doesn't match your body's current vibrational state. The result is cognitive friction, mental fatigue, and a sense of being perpetually one step behind your own thoughts. Turing theorized that this desynchronization could be corrected through deliberate exposure to specific vibrational frequencies, and that by recalibrating these patterns, you could dramatically improve mental clarity and processing speed. This wasn't pseudoscience dressed up in mathematical language. This was a rigorous investigation into the physical substrate of thought itself, conducted by one of history's greatest minds during a period when neuroscience was still in its infancy. What Turing discovered, and what modern research is only now beginning to validate, is that your mind doesn't exist in isolation from your body. Your thoughts aren't generated by your brain alone. They emerge from a complex interplay between neural activity, hormonal cascades, and the physical vibrations that travel through your entire organism. When these systems fall out of sync, everything suffers. Your decision-making becomes sluggish, your creativity dries up, your ability to solve problems diminishes. You feel perpetually exhausted, not because you lack sleep, but because your nervous system is working against itself, trying to maintain coherence across systems that are vibrating at incompatible frequencies. The question Turing posed, and the question we're going to explore in depth today, is this: what if the solution to mental clarity isn't more rest, isn't better nutrition, isn't meditation or exercise, but rather a deliberate recalibration of your body's vibrational frequency to match your brain's optimal processing speed? What if the ancient practices of chanting, humming, and rhythmic movement weren't just cultural artifacts, but sophisticated technologies for neural synchronization that our ancestors understood intuitively, even if they couldn't articulate the mechanism? Turing believed they were, and his research suggests he was onto something profound. The conventional understanding of mental performance is almost entirely wrong. We've been taught that the mind is a kind of isolated processor, that mental clarity comes from having the right thoughts, from thinking positively, from managing stress through willpower and discipline. We've built an entire self-help industry around the idea that your mind is separate from your body, that you can think your way to better mental performance if you just try hard enough. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how consciousness actually works. Your mind isn't separate from your body. It's embedded in it. It's dependent on it. Every thought you have is accompanied by a cascade of physical processes, electrical signals traveling along neural pathways, neurotransmitters binding to receptors, hormones flooding your bloodstream, and, crucially, vibrations traveling through your tissues and organs. These vibrations aren't incidental to thought, they're integral to it. Your brain doesn't just generate electrical signals, it generates them in patterns, in rhythms, in frequencies. And these frequencies need to be in harmony with the rest of your body for optimal processing. When they're not, you experience what we call being out of sync. You feel scattered, you can't focus, your thoughts feel sluggish, you make poor decisions, you feel exhausted even after resting. These aren't psychological problems, they're synchronization problems. They're the result of your nervous system trying to maintain coherence across systems that are vibrating at incompatible frequencies. The tragedy is that most people never realize this. They spend their entire lives trying to fix their mental performance through purely mental means. Positive thinking, better planning, more discipline. They never consider that the problem might be physical, that it might be rooted in the actual vibrations moving through their body. Turing understood this. He understood that the mind-body problem, which had plagued philosophy for centuries, wasn't actually a problem at all. It was a false dichotomy. The mind and body aren't separate entities that somehow need to communicate with each other. They're aspects of a single unified system, and that system operates through vibration, through frequency, through rhythm. The question Turing asked, and the question that should be haunting you right now, is this. If your mental performance is dependent on your body's vibrational state, and if most people are walking around in a state of chronic desynchronization, then how many of your failures, your struggles, your moments of mental fog are actually the result of a synchronization problem that could be fixed in minutes? How many times have you felt out of sync without realizing that the solution might be as simple as recalibrating your body's vibrational frequency? Alan Turing's investigation into vibration and neural synchronization didn't emerge from nowhere. It emerged from his broader work on the nature of computation, on the question of what it means for a system to process information. Turing had spent the war years at Bletchley Park working on the bomb machine, the electromechanical device that helped break the Enigma code. The bomb was a marvel of engineering, but it was also a lesson in the importance of synchronization. The machine had multiple rotating drums that had to be perfectly synchronized for it to function. If the drums fell even slightly out of alignment, the entire machine would produce garbage. Turing understood this intimately. He understood that synchronization wasn't just important for machines, it was essential for any system that processed information, including the human nervous system. After the war, as Turing turned his attention to theoretical questions about computation and artificial intelligence, he began to wonder about the physical substrate of thought. How did the brain actually process information? What were the mechanisms by which electrical signals in neural tissue gave rise to conscious experience? These weren't questions that could be answered through pure mathematics or logic. They required investigation into the actual physical properties of neural tissue. Turing began to study the literature on neuroscience, on the electrical properties of neurons, on the way signals propagated through the nervous system, and he noticed something that most neuroscientists of the time had overlooked. The nervous system wasn't just a network of electrical connections, it was also a system of vibrations. Neurons didn't just fire in isolation. They fired in patterns, in rhythms, in frequencies, and these frequencies weren't random. They were organized. They were coordinated. They were synchronized across different regions of the brain. Turing realized that this synchronization was crucial. It was the mechanism by which the brain integrated information from different sources, by which it maintained coherence across its vast network of neurons. And he realized something else. This synchronization could be disrupted. It could fall out of alignment. And when it did, cognitive performance suffered. This insight led Turing to a radical hypothesis. What if you could deliberately manipulate the vibrational frequencies of the nervous system? What if you could use external vibrations to recalibrate the brain's internal rhythms? What if you could use vibration as a tool for enhancing mental performance? This wasn't a new idea in human culture. Chanting, humming, rhythmic movement, drumming. These practices had been used for thousands of years in cultures around the world, but they had always been understood in spiritual or psychological terms. Turing was proposing something different. He was proposing that these practices worked because they literally recalibrated the nervous system's vibrational frequencies. They synchronized the body's oscillations with the brain's processing rhythms. They brought the entire system into coherence. Turing began to conduct informal experiments. He would expose himself to different vibrational frequencies and observe the effects on his mental clarity, his ability to focus, his capacity for creative thinking. He found that certain frequencies seemed to enhance his cognitive performance. Others seemed to degrade it. He found that the optimal frequency varied depending on the task he was performing. For analytical work, he found that lower frequencies, in the range of 4 to 8 Hertz, seemed to enhance his ability to maintain focus and work through complex logical problems. For creative work, he found that slightly higher frequencies, in the range of 8 to 12 Hertz, seemed to enhance his ability to make novel connections and generate new ideas. These frequencies, he realized, corresponded to the known frequency bands of brain activity. The 4 to 8 Hertz range corresponds to theta waves, which are associated with deep focus and problem solving. The 8 to 12 Hertz range corresponds to alpha waves, which are associated with relaxed alertness and creative thinking. Turing was discovering, through systematic experimentation, what neuroscience would later confirm: that external vibrations could entrain the brain's electrical activity, could synchronize it with the external frequency, and could thereby enhance cognitive performance. The mechanism was simple but profound. When you expose your nervous system to a rhythmic vibration at a specific frequency, your neurons begin to fire in synchronization with that frequency. This is called neural entrainment. It's a well-documented phenomenon in neuroscience. Your brain literally synchronizes its electrical activity with the external rhythm. And when your brain is synchronized, when all its different regions are firing in coherent patterns, your cognitive performance improves dramatically. You think faster, you focus better, you make better decisions, you feel more alert and more alive. Turing understood that this was the key to mental performance. It wasn't about thinking harder or trying harder. It was about getting your nervous system into the right state. It was about synchronization. This realization led him to develop what he called the calibration method, a systematic approach to using vibration to enhance mental performance. The method was based on a simple principle: identify the optimal vibrational frequency for the task you're trying to perform. Expose your nervous system to that frequency for a specific duration, and then perform the task while your nervous system is in that optimized state. The results, according to Turing's notes, were remarkable. Tasks that normally took hours could be completed in minutes. Problems that seemed intractable suddenly became solvable. Mental fatigue that normally accumulated over the course of a day could be prevented entirely through periodic recalibration. Turing's work on vibration and neural synchronization was largely unknown during his lifetime. He didn't publish his findings in peer-reviewed journals. He didn't present them at conferences. He kept his research private, conducting experiments in his spare time, documenting his findings in notebooks that wouldn't be discovered until decades after his death. But the implications of his work are staggering. If external vibrations can synchronize neural activity and enhance cognitive performance, then we have a tool for dramatically improving mental clarity, focus, and creative capacity. We have a method for preventing the mental fatigue and cognitive decline that plague modern life. We have a way to recalibrate our nervous systems when they fall out of sync. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Think about the last time you felt genuinely out of sync. Not just tired, not just stressed, but genuinely out of alignment with yourself. Your thoughts felt scattered. Your focus was fragmented. You felt like you were operating at half speed, like your mind was one step behind your body, or your body was one step behind your mind. You couldn't quite get it together, no matter how hard you tried. Now, what if I told you that feeling wasn't a psychological problem? What if it wasn't something you needed to fix through willpower, or discipline, or positive thinking? What if it was simply a synchronization problem? A mismatch between your nervous system's vibrational frequency and your brain's processing speed? What if the solution was as simple as recalibrating your body's vibrations? I want to know, have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever felt genuinely out of sync? And if so, what did you do to get back in sync? Did you rest? Did you exercise? Did you meditate? Or did you do something else entirely? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to know what works for you, because the truth is, different people respond to different frequencies. What brings one person into synchronization might not work for another. Your nervous system is unique. Your optimal vibrational frequency is unique. And understanding what works for you is the first step toward taking control of your mental performance. The comment section here isn't just a place to leave feedback. It's a place where we're collectively mapping out the landscape of human neural synchronization. Every comment you leave, every experience you share, contributes to our collective understanding of how vibration affects consciousness. So please share your experience. Tell me about a time you felt out of sync and what brought you back. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. The deeper we dig into Turing's research on vibration and neural synchronization, the more we realize we're dealing with something that challenges our fundamental understanding of consciousness and cognition. Turing wasn't just investigating a quirky phenomenon. He was investigating the physical basis of thought itself. He was asking, what is the relationship between the vibrations in your body and the thoughts in your mind? And his answer was radical. He proposed that thoughts aren't generated by the brain in isolation. They emerge from the interaction between neural activity and bodily vibrations. Your brain generates electrical signals, but those signals are modulated by the physical vibrations moving through your body. Your thoughts are literally shaped by the frequencies at which your body is vibrating. This has profound implications. It means that your mental state isn't purely a matter of what you're thinking about. It's a matter of what frequency your body is vibrating at. It means that you can change your mental state by changing your body's vibrational frequency. It means that the ancient practices of chanting, humming, and rhythmic movement weren't just cultural traditions. They were technologies for manipulating consciousness. They were methods for deliberately altering your mental state by changing your body's vibrational frequency. Turing's research suggests that different vibrational frequencies produce different mental states. Lower frequencies, in the theta range, seem to produce states of deep focus and analytical thinking. Slightly higher frequencies, in the alpha range, seem to produce states of relaxed alertness and creative thinking. Even higher frequencies, in the beta range, seem to produce states of heightened alertness and rapid information processing. The key insight is that these aren't just correlations. The vibrations aren't just accompanying the mental states, they're producing them. They're the mechanism by which different mental states arise. This means that if you want to enter a state of deep focus, you don't need to force yourself to concentrate. You don't need to eliminate distractions or use willpower. You just need to expose your nervous system to the right vibrational frequency. Your brain will automatically synchronize with that frequency, and the mental state associated with that frequency will naturally arise. This is far more efficient than trying to think your way into the right mental state. It's working with your nervous system's natural tendencies rather than against them. Turing conducted extensive experiments on the relationship between specific vibrational frequencies and specific cognitive tasks. He found that mathematical problem-solving was enhanced by frequencies in the 4 to 6 Hz range. Creative writing was enhanced by frequencies in the 8 to 10 Hz range. Rapid decision-making was enhanced by frequencies in the 12 to 15 Hz range. These findings suggest that there's an optimal frequency for every cognitive task. And if you can identify that frequency and expose your nervous system to it, you can dramatically enhance your performance on that task. The implications for education, for work, for personal development are staggering. Imagine if students could enter an optimal learning state simply by exposing themselves to the right vibrational frequency before studying. Imagine if workers could maintain peak performance throughout the day by periodically recalibrating their nervous systems. Imagine if people struggling with mental health issues could find relief not through medication, but through vibrational recalibration. This isn't science fiction. This is what Turing's research suggests is possible. The mechanism is straightforward. Your nervous system is constantly trying to synchronize with external rhythms. This is called neural entrainment, and it's a fundamental property of biological systems. When you expose your nervous system to a rhythmic vibration at a specific frequency, your neurons begin to fire in synchronization with that frequency. This synchronization spreads throughout your brain, affecting not just individual neurons, but entire networks of neurons. When your entire brain is synchronized, when all its different regions are firing in coherent patterns, your cognitive performance improves dramatically. You think faster, you focus better, you make better decisions, you feel more alert and more alive. The question Turing posed is this: if we understand the mechanism, if we understand that external vibrations can synchronize neural activity and enhance cognitive performance, why aren't we using this knowledge? Why are we still relying on willpower and discipline and positive thinking to manage our mental performance? Why aren't we using vibration as a tool for cognitive enhancement? The answer, Turing realized, is that this knowledge had been suppressed. It had been forgotten. The ancient practices that embodied this knowledge had been dismissed as superstition or spirituality. The scientific establishment had focused on the brain in isolation, ignoring the role of the body's vibrations in shaping consciousness. But Turing's research suggests that this was a mistake. The body's vibrations aren't incidental to consciousness. They're central to it. They're the mechanism by which consciousness arises. Understanding this and learning to deliberately manipulate your body's vibrational frequency is one of the most powerful tools you have for enhancing your mental performance and taking control of your consciousness. The implications of Turing's research on vibration and neural synchronization extend far beyond individual cognitive enhancement. They touch on fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness, the relationship between mind and body, and the future of human cognitive evolution. Consider the problem of mental illness. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, and other mental health conditions are typically understood as disorders of thought or emotion. We treat them with medications that alter brain chemistry or with therapies that attempt to change thought patterns. But what if these conditions are actually disorders of synchronization? What if depression is a state in which the nervous system has fallen into a pattern of low-frequency oscillation that the brain interprets as hopelessness? What if anxiety is a state in which the nervous system is oscillating at too high a frequency, producing a sense of threat and urgency? What if ADHD is a state in which different regions of the brain are oscillating at incompatible frequencies, preventing the integration of information necessary for sustained attention? Turing's research suggests that these conditions might be treatable through vibrational recalibration. Instead of trying to change thought patterns or alter brain chemistry, you could simply expose the nervous system to frequencies that promote synchronization and coherence. The mental state associated with those frequencies would naturally arise. This is a radically different approach to mental health, and it's one that deserves serious scientific investigation. The implications for artificial intelligence are equally profound. Turing spent much of his later career thinking about the question of whether machines could think, whether artificial systems could ever achieve genuine intelligence. His famous Turing test proposed that if a machine could convince a human that it was human through conversation, then it should be considered intelligent. But Turing's research on vibration and neural synchronization suggests a deeper answer to the question of machine intelligence. True intelligence, according to this research, isn't just about processing information, it's about synchronization. It's about the ability to maintain coherence across a complex system, to integrate information from multiple sources, to generate novel solutions to problems. A truly intelligent machine wouldn't just process information, it would maintain synchronization across its computational substrate. It would use vibration, or the digital equivalent of vibration, to enhance its cognitive performance. This suggests that the path to artificial general intelligence might not be through building bigger neural networks or more sophisticated algorithms. It might be through understanding and implementing the principles of synchronization that Turing discovered in biological systems. The implications for human cognitive evolution are perhaps the most profound of all. If external vibrations can enhance cognitive performance, then humans have a tool for deliberately evolving their cognitive capacities. We're not limited to the cognitive abilities we inherited from our ancestors. We can enhance them. We can use vibration to synchronize our nervous systems in ways that produce higher levels of cognitive performance. We can literally rewire our brains through deliberate exposure to specific vibrational frequencies. This opens up possibilities that would have seemed like science fiction just decades ago. Imagine a future in which cognitive enhancement through vibrational synchronization is as common as exercise is today. Imagine a world in which people routinely use vibrational frequencies to optimize their mental performance for different tasks. Imagine a world in which mental illness is treated through synchronization rather than medication. Imagine a world in which human cognitive capacity has been dramatically enhanced through the deliberate application of Turing's principles of neural synchronization. This isn't inevitable. It's a possibility. But it's a possibility that's grounded in solid science, in the research that Turing conducted, and in the principles of neural entrainment that modern neuroscience has confirmed. The question is whether we have the wisdom to pursue this possibility, whether we have the courage to challenge the conventional understanding of consciousness and cognition, and whether we're willing to embrace a radically different approach to mental performance and human development. Turing believed we should. His research suggests he was right. If you've made it this far, you understand something that most people never grasp. Your mind isn't separate from your body, and your mental performance isn't determined by your thoughts alone. It's determined by the synchronization between your nervous system's vibrational frequency and your brain's processing speed. You understand that being out of sync is a real phenomenon with real neurological causes, and that it can be addressed through deliberate recalibration of your body's vibrations. You understand that Turing discovered something profound about the nature of consciousness and cognition, something that challenges everything we've been taught about how the mind works. But understanding isn't enough. The real power of this knowledge comes from applying it, from taking control of your own vibrational frequency, from deliberately synchronizing your nervous system with the frequencies that enhance your cognitive performance, from using vibration as a tool for mental clarity, focus, and creative capacity. This is what Turing was trying to tell us. This is what his research points toward. Not a passive acceptance of our mental limitations, but an active engagement with the tools we have for transcending them. The ancient practices of chanting, humming, and rhythmic movement weren't just cultural traditions. They were technologies for consciousness. They were methods for deliberately altering your mental state by changing your body's vibrational frequency. And now, with modern neuroscience confirming the principles behind these practices, we have the opportunity to use them more deliberately, more effectively, more powerfully than ever before. The question is, will you? Will you take control of your vibrational frequency? Will you use the tools that Turing discovered to enhance your mental performance? Will you join the growing number of people who are moving beyond the limitations of conventional approaches to cognition and embracing a radically different understanding of how the mind actually works? The choice is yours. But know this, every moment you spend out of sync is a moment in which your cognitive potential is being wasted. Every moment you spend in a state of desynchronization is a moment in which you're operating at a fraction of your true capacity. Turing understood this. He spent his life investigating the mechanisms of synchronization, the principles by which consciousness arises from the interaction between neural activity and bodily vibration. He left us a map. He left us the tools. Now it's up to us to use them. The future of human cognition depends on it.